Hello and welcome everyone. What I've got set up here is the second scenario from the from Barbarossa North in my Operation Barbarossa Memoir 44 Campaign Book 1 playthrough of the Grand Campaign, the Barbarossa Grand Campaign. Let me do a brief strategy overview, which I see fit for both warring nations in this particular scenario. I've already applied the victory roll from the previous scenario, which you can see here. The Germans lost 2 infantry figures because the Russians rolled 2 infantry, and the Russians lost 2 tanks because of the Germans rolling 2 tanks. As far as reserve tokens is concerned, the Germans have decided to, the Russians actually had to roll first, roll first and decide first, because they're actually starting in this scenario, which is why I put this card here to remind myself that the Russians actually go first, because I believe in all scenarios so far the Germans have actually gone first, which seems fitting in a Barbarossa scenario and campaign in which, of course, the Germans had the initiative historically most of the time. Then again, this one depicts a counterattack, a Russian counterattack. So yeah, it certainly fits the theme to have them go first now. So the Russians rolled an infantry and a tank, which they have both deployed, hoping the Germans wouldn't get too lucky on their reserve rolls. Note that the Russians have 3 left for any subsequent scenarios in this particular campaign. The Germans rolled 2 grenades, so 2 wild, and they decided to actually deploy 2 artillery units, because without them I feel that the Germans are at a disadvantage in this scenario. On this side, certainly this unit will have to cross via the town hex, which will cost them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 activations before they can actually make it. So what they only have is 3 tank units, but you really need this one here as well. Same is true for all of these units, basically. Well, you could divert them to what is for the Germans the left section of the board to help out the units here, but if you actually want to help some units in the center, you will have to get them across the river too via the town hex, which will really cost a number of activations, except for the artillery, which I believe it's very prudent for the Germans to move it 1 space, so that it can actually be activated by a right section card for the Germans or a center section card. And the same is true for this one, which can be placed here. So that should really give the Germans an edge in this particular scenario. Although, again, these units, won't be able to do too much. So I think that the Russians will have to press their attack. On the other hand, if they get too close to these units, they don't even have to move, and they can shoot from here, potentially. Especially now with the artillery. So yeah, what are the Russians to do? Well, certainly because they go first and they actually have a drew as one of their cards, a general advance. That is a very good card to start with for the Russians, I suppose, because these two tank units can be activated, for instance, in this section of the board and attack the German tank unit. So that's an option. And they might cause some damage over there, and thereby really basically forcing these 2 units to go over here if they actually want to do anything. In the center, of course, they can attack. They can use this tank unit as well and place it over here, or potentially over here, which will make it very useful for any subsequent turns, because it will be able to fire any German units over here in the open, and potentially even German units that venture too close to the Russian units over here. This particular unit can move 1 forward and also attack that one, and over here these 2 units can fire at those 2 infantry, so they can really do quite a bit of damage already on the very first turn with this particular card, which they actually drew. For the Russians, it's a bit easier to cross the river. They also have to cross via the town hex, but they're closer to it, and the artillery unit, I guess, can stay exactly where it is. It's just fine. It can also be activated by both a right section card as well as a center section card. I guess it would be good to get this a tank on the other side of the village so it can help out these two units as well. Yeah, so that's, and of course it's very important in this campaign to actually capture some objectives. This is a German objective, which will be hard for them to get to, I suppose. For the Russians, it might be an option to go after this one, although again, of course, as I mentioned previously, having these two extra German artillery units is going to make that a lot more difficult for them. So let's see how this scenario turns out. It really looks like quite a promising one. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you hopefully in the next video, which will be a small battle report on this battle. Thank you for watching.